Leslie.
I didn't get your question.
Hello, Leslie.
Yes, I didn't get your question. You said, how much do I know of him?
Yes, yes.
He's a big striker who's made his name in the Cameroon League One Championship in the last few years for Column of John Lobo. This season for Fuvazu Elite, he scored goals wherever he's played. This performance from the boy has attracted the interest of different national team coaches. There's different categories of the national team coaches over the years. Most recently, Robert Song Bahanak with the senior team. He is a big forward whose hold up play is good. He can play, can excel as a double striker with another beside him. He can excel as the lone leader of the line for a team. He scores all sorts of goals with left foot, right foot, headers. He is a goal poacher who has proved his worth at more than a club. So I think he's a kind of striker that every coach will want to have on his books. This season he had a very outstanding performance with a newly promoted club, Fuvazu Elite, partnering with Pierre Boyomo, who was rumored sometime to also be linked to a move to Ghana. I think he is one for the future. He is of the same age category like the next generation of strikers that Cameroon is building. You remember that the current generation of strikers, you have Abubakar 30, Tawamba 32, we have Abao Ken 30. We have an aging generation of strikers that are about approaching the twilight of their career. And then there's the next generation that is coming, the younger generation of strikers like the likes of Imbala, Etoga, and the rest. He falls in the Imbala, Etoga generation. And many are those in Cameroon who still believe that he forms part of the big future of Cameroon's football, especially in the attacking third.
Oh, okay. Looking at Junior Kaaba, for some of us who have not seen him play, who can you liken him to? His style of play. In any striker, you can liken Junior Kaaba to?
I think the Romelu Lukaku of Inter Milan last season, not this Romelu Lukaku of Chelsea in the just ended season.
Thanks for the clarification, because I was saying this Lukaku, Chelsea Lukaku, then hey, he's a bomb player.
No, not this Lukaku of this season. The other Lukaku, probably the Lukaku that has gone back to. Yes, the Lukaku of Inter Milan last 2 seasons ago. I think he is that kind of player. But when you look at him in Cameroon context over the years, we've had some players like Pierre Ashiwebo. I don't know if you remember that guy, the guy who scored a hat-trick in the qualifiers for the 2006 World Cup when Cameroon beat Ivory Coast 3-2 in Abidjan. He scored some very important goals for Cameroon. These days he's a coach out there in Turkey, played for Mallorca, played for a good number of clubs in Europe. I think he's that kind of striker. He is not the one that will hold the ball and beat 4, 5, 6, 7 players like Junior Neymar, but he's got the pace of Mbappe, he's got the physicality and the goal instincts of Lukaku. He is one player that if he finds himself in the right environment, he will blossom. When you look at players like Fege and Bella, what they achieved during their days in Cameroon and what they achieved in Ghana, you get to understand that footballers can do more if they are in the right environment. And I think that if Kaaba finds himself in a better environment than an environment of a club that just came to Elite One last year at Fuvazu, I think if he finds himself surrounded by quality, he's going to help any club achieve results on consistent basis.
Okay, because after the exploits of Imbala in Fege at Kumasi Asante Kotoko, another big giant in Ghana, Hasselhoff, are in talks with Junior Kaaba. So we wanted you to give us at least something about him so that we can know the kind of player Hasselhoff is dealing with. Yes. So if things goes as planned, Junior Kaaba might play for Hasselhoff, another big giant in Ghana.
Yeah. It will be good. It will be good. Atem Valentine made his name in Ghana, and Bella Etoga and the rest have made their names recently. But I think that if you look at the match window in Cameroon, or the June window, I beg your pardon, in Cameroon, when Song decided to call up only players who were 23 years and below to play against the players coming from abroad. He was included amongst the category of players who are 23 and below. And in that category, we had a lot of good young players, the likes of Passion Wasugui, who has been one of the top scorers of Cotton Sport this season at 18. The likes of Maru Swaibo. We had some very good young players, and for him to be selected amongst the best crop of under 23 or 23-year-old players in Cameroon, it speaks volume about his quality. I think that he's been around for some few years, but he's got all of his career ahead of him, and in the ideal environment, he can blossom. He's not scored goals only for Full as Elite. He scored for Appengers, he scored for Column of Jar and Lobo. So he's got quality. He's got something special about him, and I think that in the right environment, he can do more. Or the right environment, not being only at Kotoko, with the other local clubs that have been mentioned about, in relation to him, Cotton Sport of Garwa being another. These days in Cameroon, if Cotton Sport takes interest in a player, that player must be someone who has something special. At some point in time, he was linked to a move to Cotton Sport. So I think he's a good player. However, it's down to him to go on the field of play wherever he is and prove his worth.
Oh, okay. Football and rivalry. When Asante Kodoko, because they've already gotten Imbala and Infege. When some supporters of Kodoko heard Hasselhoff coming in for Junior Kaaba, they say, they are going for carpenters, they are going for fishermen, because once he's from Cameroon, they are going after him. But so it is good that this afternoon you've given us something about Junior Kaaba, that yes, he's one for the future. He's quite a very good player, and for him to have been linked from Cotton Sport to Garoua tells us that yes, Junior Kaaba is a very good player. So let me ask you, if you are to choose between Infege, Imbala, and Junior Kaaba, who will you choose?
I think that's a tough one. I think I would have loved your question to be, if I'm somewhere, Boadu, at Hearts of Oak, or if I'm Coach Ogum at Kotoko, who do I play amongst those three players? And if you ask me that question, I'll prefer to play the three of them up front, because you can compare these three players, but forget about their returns, their goal returns. These three players are completely different. Natural out-and-out centre forward, give it to Junior Kaaba. A goal scorer who has goal scoring instincts, give it to Junior Kaaba. Okay. A second striker that can play behind a goal scorer like Junior Kaaba, give it to Bella Tuga. Okay. A winger who can play in the left wing or in the right wing, or can play behind the first striker, you give it to Fege. So if you have a team, if I have a team and they ask me about these guys, I prefer to partner the three of them up front. Maybe Fege in the right flank,
that will be one.
Fege the right flank, Bella in the left flank, or vice versa, and have Kaaba as the pointer man, always lurking around the edge of the 18-meter box, around the edge of the penalty area, beg your pardon, to punish defenders. I think that's the best option. To ask me to pick, it is very, very difficult. Okay. Bella is one for the future. Bella is 20. He's got all of his career ahead of him. I don't even think that Bella will score. We should charge him to score the number of goals he scored this season, every season. He is more of a creative forward whose goal scoring is a bonus. He's not expected, since I knew him at Fortuna back in Cameroon, he's not expected to bang 20 goals every season. He can do it in some season, but being as the creative player, I would absolutely, I would love to see Bella playing in a team that has an out-and-out striker. I mean, like Nana, like the guy who finished the top scorer. I would have loved to see him playing in the same team with Imbala Itoga. Unfortunately, he's moved to Ismaili. So I think it's difficult to pick between those guys, but they are very good players.
I get a point. But aside all these lanes linking Junior Kaaba to Hasselhoff, it's another story implicating him to have done change his name, his telephone number, something. Can you brief us very well about those stories about Junior Kaaba?
I have heard those stories like you have. it's difficult to believe. I would have loved to come out and speak about it. I shouldn't be the one to detail about what I don't know. Honestly, I followed this guy in the Cameroon League One Championship for 3 seasons. Okay. I have known him as Junior Kaaba from his days at Colombe. Known him as Junior Kaaba at Accra. He was called up to the national team as Junior Kaaba, and there was an age bracket for those who were called up to the national team from the local scene in that June 2022 camp. It was for players of 23 and below. How he will change his identity and still remains Junior Kaaba and still be 23. I don't know the essence of doing so. He's not a player that just burst onto the scene this season. He's been there and thereabout for quite some time. But one of the biggest problems of African football, particularly these days, it's this battle between agents. The battle between football agents and interest, the financial hunger that some football agents have had in the last decade has made it in such a way that you can glaringly see a desperate approach. You can glaringly see a desperate approach to make money from some of their moves. I heard this story, read about it, and was my website Kick442.com was even quoted by the agency and stating that we report Kick442 is one of the most credible in terms of followership of players in Central Africa. So to even hear that we did a story, and then later on you start hearing stories about the age, all of those things, and they're quoting the website. Nobody reached out to us to find out about details, and I don't do stories for.
Lastly, I read somewhere that the so-called agent of Junior Kaaba mentioned your name, that you know the in and outs of that story. Is it true?
Yeah,
Hello,
and the story. He mentioned my website and the story. Hello?
Yes. Now I can hear
Hello?
you. Yes, now I can hear you.
Yeah. I am saying he mentioned my website, kick442.com, and mentioned that we did a story with the player's new identity. I don't know the player's old identity, talk less of knowing the player's new identity. I know this boy was born in Bafia in Cameroon. I know I've known him all along as Junior Kabab. And it sounds like a joke. If you have a player playing in the national team who has played for 2 categories of the national team, including being called up to the senior team, you cannot appear all of a sudden and say that the player is using that identity and not his identity. I think that if the agency was serious, they shouldn't address him as Junior Kabab. They should address him as Angu Lesley, or you should address him as Accwah Leslie. Address him if you think he has another identity. Address him with the identity, the popular identity you're talking about. Don't tell me Angu Lesley. I'm talking about Angu Lesley because you are not Angu Lesley. If talking to me and thinking I have something wrong with my identity, bring out the other identity and use it as this is his genuine identity, not the other identity. And in 3 years in Cameroon, that I've known this guy, in 3 years I've known this guy in the top flight championship in Cameroon, I've never known another identity. This guy, in fact, is one of the most popular players in this because of his goal scoring, not because of these stories linking him to clubs in Turkey or clubs in Ghana or Cotonsport. He's one of the most popular in this country because of his hairstyle. He's got a funny hairstyle. He always does. He keeps one long hair. I don't know if you've seen photos of this guy.
I've seen some photos.
He always keeps. He has a particular hairstyle. And every day, young kids around. Especially in the central region of the country where he's very popular, who call themselves, who only have named themselves Kaaba, and they emulate his hairstyle. So I wonder how someone who's a name for himself and has a particular identity over the years, someone appear now and make those kind of stories. However, football legends these days and their quest to make money. When you say that, you can automatically sense that there's been a disagreement between an agent and this player, and the agent is doing his best to
I get your point. Junior Kaaba
just coming up now when he's linked to to abroad. Why did he not come up with this story when the player was called up to the national team? This player played for Cameroon in the month of June. Why did the story not come up? Why is it coming up only now?
I got your point. Now, Junior Kaaba, is he left dominant or is he right dominant, or he plays both legs?
He's right dominant. Okay. And very, very good when it comes to shooting from range. So I don't know if he's going to be the same kind of player he's been in Cameroon when he gets to Ghana, but he's right dominant and has scored all sorts of goals over the past 3 years in Cameroon.
Lastly, thanks so much for your time. We do really appreciate it. Now you are our official correspondent in Cameroon, and we are also your official correspondents in Ghana. So thanks so much for your time, and may God bless us all.
Something partnership. I wish you guys all the best as you sacrifice your today to better the tomorrow of African football from the perspective of Ghanaian and Cameroon at least.
Thanks so much, bro.